Hello. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody enjoyed the keynote this morning as much as I did. It's always fantastic to see so much being announced in one place, such amazing products, such incredible innovation. And I'm especially proud of all of the ads announcements that we were able to make on the main stage of I/O this year. Welcome to Google I/O, everybody. I'm Jonathan Elfraniss, VP of Product Management, and I lead up our mobile display ads teams. We thought that we would spend some time today talking with all of you about what we're seeing in the mobile app space in terms of monetization, how people are building not just small businesses, but truly global businesses on the backs of mobile apps, the trends that we're seeing, the techniques that people are using, and importantly, some of the tools that we're building to make this easier for all of you. We're going to look at this in three specific areas. First, this concept of smarter monetization, how you can take advantage of data and tools that exist today, both manual and automatic, to build really innovative business models on the backs of mobile apps. Second, the tools that you need to scale your businesses. Many app developers start with a couple of folks in their garage, and before they know it, they've created a multi-million-dollar business. You want to make sure that the tools that you adopt into your app are tools that will help you to scale from small businesses to multi-billion-dollar ones. And three, simplicity. Because most importantly, you guys are app developers. You want to spend your time thinking about the apps that you're building, making those better, creating really rich, engaging experiences. And the last thing that you want to worry about is letting monetization or business models get in the way. Now, I've had an incredible opportunity working with AdMob, my team, and my partners for the better part of the last 3 or 4 years. And without a doubt, one of the best experiences that I get is to travel this wonderful globe and to meet app developers in all reaches of the world. I get to meet app developers right here in my hometown of San Francisco. I get to meet amazing developers in places like Japan and Tokyo, in London, as well as in places like Vietnam. And it's stunning because these stories are the same over and over again. You find bright, young, entrepreneurial folks who know that they can change the world with some software and a mobile application. And we understand that the barriers of the world, these country borders, are fading away as people in the furthest reaches of Earth are building businesses that are touching us all around the world. So we thought we would start with just 2 examples to give you a feel for how folks are turning mobile apps into truly global businesses. The first is a story of our friend Mehmet. He's the co-founder and CEO of Gram Games. Mehmet grew up in Turkey in a small village called Gulnar. He dropped out of college, but he always had a passion for engineering, for software development, and for coding. And so he taught himself to program. Mehmet was a little bit ambitious, and within 3 weeks, he was trying to figure out how to write AI for chess games. He worked for a variety of different companies as a developer, but he had this itch for his passion, which was gaming. And so he co-founded a company, Gram Games, in 2012. It wasn't easy at first. You can see how they operated when they first got started. About 5 of them working out of their apartments, as you kind of have to do. And they were working really hard to try to develop a hit. They kept building app after app after app, but nothing was sticking. And then all of a sudden, in 2014, the winds changed for them, and they developed a truly massive hit. I hope some of you in the audience, raise your hand. Come on, who's played 10-10 Puzzle? I certainly have. Yeah, see? There we go. And you see how quickly this stuff spreads. Before long, they had 5 million users playing this game. And they realized, now we have an opportunity to build a business. So they employed in-app purchases, trying to get users to pay to play more of the game that they loved. But with 5 million users and with not a high percentage of users willing to pay, they really struggled to create a business off of in-app purchase. Late in 2014, they started researching mobile app advertising systems, and they came upon AdMob. Mehmet liked AdMob because it had a high fill rate, strong CPMs, which meant it was going to deliver him revenue without a lot of complexity. So in the back half of 2014, they implemented AdMob, and before they knew it, they were generating $5,000 a day in earnings, which grew their business sevenfold. They took use of mobile, they utilized mobile ads in a fairly simple way, leveraging banner ads for in-game play, and then interstitials in between the levels. And thanks to AdMob, they were able to move from their apartment to new offices. They grew from 5 employees to 20, and they've now scaled. They have 20 million users worldwide. You can see an example of you can see their team behind me here. You can see their new offices, and they're one of the fastest growing startups in all of Turkey. And the thing that really impresses me is that they have such a passion about this space that they now run their own accelerator program to help other indie game developers get off the ground. Our next example comes from Backflip Studios. Julian is the co-founder and CEO there, and they have one of the oldest and most favorite of mobile app games. And we're going to show you an example of that right now. Can you play the video?
I feel like I am living out my 12-year-old dream, which is to have created an interesting gaming company, and we get to create product that people care about and that resonates from an emotional standpoint with a very broad range of folks. Backflip Studios started about 6 years ago with a small group of people, and we went to market quickly. We started it with the idea that mobile was going to change sort of the landscape and ecosystem of gaming. So we created all these free, engaging, casual games, and we had this huge audience, but at the time, we weren't really sure how we were going to monetize it and how we were going to create a sort of a sustainable gaming company out of that.
When you're creating a mobile business, you have to focus on the stability, and you have to be able to scale that operation. Without Google, we would have to work with about 20 different partners to be able to accomplish what we do today.
We use the Android platform in addition to App Engine, and we've really seen our sort of live products be able to scale with the server infrastructure and back-end infrastructure of App Engine.
We then monetize those games with in-app purchases, virtual goods, as well as advertising revenue. And we use DFP to run our internal ad network, and then we monetize using AdMob.
In order to do that, we have to acquire users at a very low cost and at a very large scale.
So we know that 90 to 95% of our users are not going to spend within the game. Google allows us to segment our users in order to maximize the value we can get from folks who are spending in the game, as well as advertising revenue from folks who are not spending in the game. On the Engage side, we have Google Cloud Storage to scale our game as it grows. We post our game in the Google Play Store.
Being able to target users based off of demographics, spend behavior, makes it so we have a better relationship with the customers we're trying to reach. And AdWords is the first platform that we have used that allows us to target directly customers who are guaranteed to have made a purchase.
The idea that Google has a number of different tools that we can leverage, it's allowed us to sort of manage a portfolio of varying products with different revenue models on each.
Google's product roadmap is really impressive, and it's really become the Swiss Army knife for us in terms of monetization, and we're excited to see what else they're going to come out with.
My team and I thought that that was a fantastic summary of how Google is really pulling together all of the assets, all of the tools that we've been providing to app developers for the better part of the last 5 years or so, and really getting them stitched together under a single umbrella so that app developers know that we truly provide a full suite from development through monetization to things like cloud storage, compute, et cetera. So we know that lots of developers, like the two that we've seen here today, are taking advantage of Google solutions to help them grow their businesses. Our solutions and the solutions that we're building, we hope to empower all of you to grow app businesses just as quickly, just as scaled around the world. We talk about scale. I think it's absolutely important to understand that, yes, we're Google. And yes, this is a Google I/O conference. But we're here to serve app developers regardless of the platform that they choose to operate on. AdMob has been committed to cross-platform on both iOS and Android long before Google purchased AdMob. This was the case, and it continues through to today. Over the last 12 months, we have seen equal growth on the iOS and Android platforms in terms of the number of developers that are adopting our products. And if you want to hear about scale, we've grown to a very significant scale in terms of the number of apps that we now serve, over 650,000. And in terms of the ad requests that we see every month, that number is now 200 billion ad requests a month. And you think a little bit about this, we are seeing the growth of the mobile ads ecosystem, the mobile ads in-app ecosystem at Google directly. But that is growth that we expect, and folks outside of Google expect to continue for the foreseeable future, at least. In fact, the predictions suggest that mobile in-app ads are set to grow threefold in roughly the next 3 years. And important to understand, because I know many folks think that mobile ads in apps make up a small slice of the revenue, most coming from in-app purchase. That is no longer the case, and you'll see why in a second. But in many of the major markets, mobile ads now represent 50% or more of the total app revenue that our app developers are earning. So I think the question is, what's driving this? What's driving this continued increase in mobile ads? And if we look at it, we believe that there's really three distinct trends. First, as always, is users. And users vote with their clicks, as they're doing here. 90% of all apps that are downloaded today are free. And you can see the phenomenal growth, there it is, you can see the phenomenal growth that we've had in app downloads over the years and the projections moving forward. But also recognize that that little darker bar at the top, that's it for the paid apps. More and more users know that they can download and engage and play truly phenomenal apps for free, and they're voting with their fingers. So that's trend number one. Trend number two, in-app purchase works, and it works great for those that know how to really optimize it and tune it. It's absolutely phenomenal. But damn it, you better do a good job of tuning it, because only 1.5% of users, of mobile gamers, spend in apps. So you've got to find that right audience if in-app purchase is the only way you're going to monetize. And even more complicated, in-app purchase tendencies vary a lot per region. So while that business model might do well for you in Korea or Japan, for example, you might struggle as users don't end up paying as much in the US or the UK. The third trend that we really think is transforming mobile ads is much, much better user experiences. We highlight three here. The first is native advertising. So because we're bringing ads into these experiences that feel like the experiences that users are in, it's much less jarring. And I think the word native is perfect. This is the way folks see it. They see it as native to the environment that they're in. The second is we're starting to see the transformation that we've been expecting with rich media ads, full screen, interstitial, we call them lightbox ads at Google. The uptake here has been very significant. These are much easier to create than in years past. They provide rich interaction. They allow users to actually interact with the products that they're considering purchasing. And the last has been video. Video has transformed mobile overall, and the advertising space is no exception. So publishers are able to earn a lot more money with these types of formats. And with Google, you can leverage TrueView ads, which put the user in control, so that the user has the choice to skip the ad if it's not relevant to her desires. Ultimately, all of this momentum is leading to a very, very significant market. Most projections estimate the mobile app advertising market to be north of $50 billion. This suggests $60 billion by 2017. $60 billion is an awful lot of money, and it's one of the things, in at least my experiences, that is pushing more and more folks to want to become app developers. You want your own opportunity to get a slice of this pie. But you're going to have to think carefully because the competition is increasing and the business models are getting more complex. And if you just choose simple business models like in-app purchase or advertising, chances are you're going to come up short and you're not going to be able to compete against some of the other folks who are out there. And we believe that until now, developers have not had the right tools to really embrace the opportunity that's out there to create these new business models. And that's what we've been so hard at work at Google and at AdMob building for the last 18 months or so. Solving monetization on apps is a passion that doesn't just consume me, but consumes my team on a daily basis. That's why we're so excited about some of the announcements we have today. So what should the strategy be for your app? How can you do it better? And why is it important to get it right now? Well, the competition is growing, as I mentioned. In 2014 alone, 1 million new apps were created and uploaded to the stores. There's almost 6 million developers now worldwide, with 1.5 million developers in North America alone. And this number will also grow. As the democratization of software development, coding, and distribution continues to blanket the world, we expect 8 million developers by the year 2017. All of this means more competition for all of you as app developers, for the eyeballs, the mind share, and ultimately the monetization of your users. So we're here to give you some tips, some thoughts that we have about what's going to help all of you break out from the rest of the competition. Here's 3. First, we believe you need to realize the full value of each user. Not all users will interact with in-app purchases. Not all are going to interact with ads. And that's what we're demonstrating here. We have a set of users who are likely to spend in an app purchase, but a separate set of users who are likely to click on ads, and a third set who maybe aren't going to engage with either one of those, but who will happily spread the good word of how well your app works or how awesome your game is on social media. You should probably, and the sophisticated developers in the audience are nodding because you get it, you should probably be dealing with these users differently and be building hybridized business models that take all of them into account. The second tip we'd have, and I've been talking about this for the last 3 years easily, please use a mobile apps analytics package. Google Analytics works great. We're going to talk more about that in a second. The Google Analytics team has been really working hard to build the best mobile apps analytics package. We'd love for you to use them. But for you guys and for your own business's sake, make sure you use some analytics package. Because even though we've been out espousing how important this is, and when you do, you get the nods from everybody that you talk to, look at this stat. I'm sorry for the language, but I don't know what the hell the other 79% of the app developers are doing. Like, you're not able to understand what the hell's going on inside your app. But it's not sufficient just to use analytics. Mike Schipper, my good friend who helps me with these slides, he and I created this visualization. We love it because we're of the age that we grew up with Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all of that long before the movies. And if you remember The Hobbit, you remember Bilbo Baggins and the cast of characters climbing to the mountain, to the Lonely Mountain, because the dragon Smaug had come in, knocked out all the dwarves, and sat perched on top of the dwarves' treasure hold. Mike and I thought that this was almost comical. Like, what the hell is a dragon going to do with all of this gold? It's the same thing with the data. You can't just have a data analytics package and let it sit there. You are sitting on a veritable treasure trove of information, and we implore you to take action on the data that you've been acquiring. The third suggestion we have is to truly maximize your ad yield. You have so many opportunities for monetization, so many different avenues that you can bring ads and different ad formats in. Make sure you're looking as holistically as possible. Use a yield management solution if you have one, and make sure that every impression is maximized to the most possible. What you see here, we just cut off the y-axis so we wouldn't share the actual CPM values. But these are relative CPMs on our network of TrueView versus interstitials versus banners. So you might say, OK, well, I'm just going to use TrueView all the time. But that may not work for all of your users, and you may not get a 100% fill rate on TrueView. So think about the other ad formats that you can mix in as well. Because ultimately, different formats will bring a richer experience to your app and help you earn more. Talking about interstitials specifically, we've been out really evangelizing how great interstitials are, both, well, from an advertiser perspective, absolutely, from a publisher perspective, because you can earn more money, and from a user perspective. Because believe it or not, interstitials end up being a little less disruptive. Most app developers are able to swap out about 5 banner ads for a single interstitial. And you're able to more carefully place those into the flow of the game, simulating the kinds of things that users are used to, like TV commercials. And when our app developers make use of interstitials, they don't use it all the time. But those who do use some interstitials see on average 20% more revenue than those app developers who don't. Speaking of demand, speaking of different formats, when you're thinking about the networks that you're plugging into your monetization tool, this is something known as mediation typically, but you can always plug multiple third-party ad networks into just about any monetization tool for apps, including AdMob. These networks all perform differently. Mediation doesn't solve all these problems automatically for you. We're going to talk about some of the innovations that we're bringing. You need to keep an eye on how these various networks are performing, because Network A might do better on Wednesdays in China, but Network B might do better on Tuesdays in the US. And you want to make sure that you're optimizing these ad networks correctly so that you're maximizing your yield on every impression. So now I want to go a little deeper. I want to talk about what we're working on at AdMob, the features and the tools that we have built to help you take advantage of some of these tips and tricks that we just talked about. So as we said in the beginning, the principles that we're leveraging here and the principles that we're focused on are the same that we're driving into AdMob. First is to build a platform that truly enables smart monetization, where AdMob itself is a bit of an optimization engine with data and users fed in and us trying to figure out the right monetization opportunity for the right user at the right time. Second, make sure that you're employing tools to scale. So what are we doing at Google to really help you scale your business from a demand perspective? And last, how can we make this as easy as possible? So as I said, AdMob, the focus and the real theme of AdMob for the last 3 years now has been an audience-aware smart platform. The simplest way to think about this is that AdMob can take a set of inputs. In this case, it's monetization opportunities. It also takes as a set of inputs all of the data that it's seen about all of the users that you have and their behavior in-app. And churning through this engine, we can either put the power in your hands or we can do it automatically, and we can provide that right monetization opportunity to the right user at the right time. In this case, AdMob decided a video ad would probably monetize best. Let's look at another example where we take advantage of the IAP business model. So we have this feature in AdMob called in-app purchase house ads. And the idea here is these will help you promote your IAP items to those users who are actually going to purchase. And generally, when I talk to developers, these users are, they're precious. And what I hear is, whatever you do, make sure that you build the best ring fence you can around my purchasers. Don't ever show them an ad. Only show them in-app purchases. Sure, for everybody else, you can do whatever you want, but please don't muck with these purchasers. So this is what AdMob does automatically on your behalf. We're able to figure out who the buyers are. You heard Sundar on stage. We have incredible computer scientists, massive sets of machines, of computers, and some of the best machine learning systems in the world. We're employing these to help us predict those users that we believe are likely to be purchasers, both aggregately and inside your app. And we can wall those off for you, and we can make sure that those users that we think are bound to purchase in your app only see your IAP promotions. And for everybody else, we're happy to help you show them ads, the right ads at the right time that are going to monetize best for those users. This is one of these hybrid business models that we've talked about. You're no longer just doing IAP, you're no longer just doing ads, but now you're doing a hybrid of two of them. And when we started running trials with some of our partners earlier this year, the results that we saw were quite stunning. This is an example that's going to walk you through one of those sets of results. This is with Lunasoft, who is a developer down in Korea. Now, these numbers aren't the exact numbers, but they were benchmarked against those numbers to represent the uplift that we saw. In the initial experiment, they ran for 6 days, and they just used their traditional IAP business model. They showed 145,000 impressions to all of their users. But remember, only a small slice of those users will actually engage with these purchases. So what that means is that your monetization rate in aggregate isn't that good, but they still netted with slightly north of $100. Their second go-through here, they took advantage of our IP House Ads product. And what they saw is that we winnowed down those IAP offer walls to the 6,000 users that we expected to purchase. And as a result, they made just about $24 CPM on those users. And that's cool, but that's roughly the same rate that they made in the first case. What excites me, my team, and everybody I talk to about this is we have now freed up 139,000 impressions for folks who weren't going to engage in the first place, and we can do all kinds of other great things with this, like show them ads. And that's what Lunasoft did, and as a result, they made even more money from these hybridized business models while still protecting those in-app purchase users. Analytics has been the key to really enabling these kinds of use cases. And this is why AdMob and Google Analytics have been partnered at the hip for the better part, I don't know, Russ, the last probably 2.5, 3 years. It's one of the things that I'm proudest of is this really strong, tight connection that these two teams have built. And anybody out there who's using AdMob should understand that underneath AdMob is the full-fledged version of Google App Analytics. It's not just like a thin shim. You really get this package with both of them fully integrated, which enables things like custom audience targeting. Because once you have app data flowing through AdMob, we can open up a whole slew of new opportunities. You can take action on your own data based on your own insights and the things that you know. And this begins with a new tool that we call Audience Builder, which enables you to segment users based on their behavior. For example, the one that I have behind me segments between those casual users and those highly engaged users. Because often, we see that app developers want to do different things for these different types of users. Another great example that I hear is for users who are brand new to an app, maybe for the first week or 2 weeks, let's cut back on monetization. We can ratchet it up a little bit after they've gotten fully engaged with the game, right? All of these things are the kinds of things that are possible with Audience Builder. Play the video here for me, if you would. And this is walking you through a demo of how this works inside AdMob. So you're going to see that we select our app. We've already segmented our audience. And now we can target what to do with those two segments. So your casual non-purchaser is seeing ads at the top. And your more engaged user in a second will see an in-app purchase in just a few minutes. All of this is automatic. All of this can happen thanks to the data that you're pulling in, the segmentations that you're using, and truly the opportunities here are unlimited. We're really excited to see what you guys are going to do with these tools in your hand. So showing the right ad at the right time is an important part of running one of these smart businesses. And I mentioned mediation earlier. I want to talk a little bit more about that now. We've really invested in our mediation product over the last year, because we know that it is absolutely critical to you that regardless of where you're based and where your users are, that you can get the best ads and the best demand possible. So today, we mediate lots of different types of ads, from banners to videos to interstitials, and we're working hard to bring rewards-based mediation to the AdMob platform in the back half of this year. Over the last year, we have introduced 15 more networks to the AdMob mediation product, bringing us now to 40 networks overall in 2015. And you saw this at I/O. Our most recent and most exciting announcement is bringing Tencent's network, Tencent GDT, to the AdMob platform to help all of our partners in China monetize even better. So I want to talk a little bit more about mediation. And I think most of you know that mediation is not the world's most optimal ad product. Ultimately moving to a single auction, things like advertising exchanges and real-time bidding have actually pooled all of this demand together to run a single auction. That's not how mediation works. Mediation actually brings me back to something like 1997 with all of these callbacks, right? We're going to try ad network 1. If that doesn't work, well, we'll try network 2. If that doesn't, eventually I will find an ad. The challenge is, if you don't stack those networks correctly, and if you don't change the stack ranking based on locale and user and everything else, you're likely not optimized. And I don't mean change these networks once a day. I mean to really get it optimized, you're probably changing this whole stack rank once an hour. And that's simply impossible for any developer to do. So we've developed a technology called Ad Network Optimization. It's available to all of our AdMob publishers. And what we do is that we analyze the performance of these networks over time so that we can predict for each impression which network will perform best given things like the region of the user, the time of day, the day of week. And we believe that with features like Ad Network Optimization, we can optimize mediation as much as possible until the industry eventually shifts to things like ad exchanges and real-time bidding, sort of integrating that single auction. This is an example showing how we found that right slot. Lastly, I want to talk about how we scale. And at Google, we bring you truly global demand. Any AdMob customer has access to millions of advertisers through AdWords. You also have access to the DoubleClick Ad Exchange, which brings millions more ads in through 1,400 certified ad networks and over 400 DSPs. And all of these, as I was hinting at earlier, run in a single real-time auction. And that demand flows directly into AdMob. You can use it in the mediation or ad network optimization stacks that you saw behind me. I'm incredibly excited to announce that large partners around the world are understanding what we're building with AdMob and really latching on to the demand that we're able to provide with our extremely high fill rates. And as such, I couldn't be happier to announce that Etermax and their hit game, Trivia Crack, has, as of June 1st, I think, going live exclusively with AdMob. It's an incredible positive proof point that the tools that we're building in AdMob work for all developers of all scale around the world. One of the other pieces that most large developers ask us about is reservations or direct sales. As you grow up, some businesses end up having their own sales organization, and they want to be able to sell their own ads. And while it often doesn't make up the lion's share of revenue, it is a nice way to differentiate your brand. So our team is working incredibly hard to bring AdMob reservations to all of our AdMob publishers, some of whom are running a beta with us right now. We're going to enable you to run these campaigns delivered based on either clicks or impression goals, to pace the campaigns using some of Google and DoubleClick's world-class pacing and throttling technology, ultimately to empower all of your sales teams. We've got more to announce on this later this year. We're really, really excited about how this is shaping up. Google Web Designer is a fantastic tool that we brought into the display family about 3 years ago. This is an incredible team who's worked on things like Macromedia Flash in the past, and they have brought a fully featured WYSIWYG HTML5 rich media editing tool to the desktop that connects beautifully into AdMob as well as our DoubleClick products. And what you see here is an example of how folks have used Google Web Designer to create a rich media HTML5 app install ad, and one that could be served directly from Google's reservation system. The last thing that we're going to talk about is simplicity. Integration becomes absolutely critical, and our launch of native ads has been incredibly successful with many many publishers and app developers adopting this already. In fact, you see a great example behind me. Our friends at Atari are utilizing AdMob in Roller Coaster Tycoon 4, and they're showing off these native ads there. native ads are great for developers with the sophistication to take in these various bundles of assets and lay them out in ways that make sense for their apps. It truly makes these ads experiences native and flow, or integrative, native and flow within the rest of the app. But it is a fair amount of work. And this is what we're starting to hear from some of you as we're rolling this out. And so we've been thinking about how we can make this even easier. So we're introducing Native Ads Express, and this is in beta. This is a pretty cool feature, and you see it animated behind me. The idea here is that we should be able to create these creatives on your behalf based on the uniqueness of your app, the stylings of your app, the colors, the font choices, etc. And we do this very simply. All you have to do is give us a template, upload a CSS file, and based on that, we can render an entire set of our demand in ways that fit within your app. And the only thing you need to do if you want to change the look and feel of those native ads is send us a new CSS sheet. And you see it basically animating here behind me, so you get a feel for how easy that is. Really proud of this. So the growth of AdMob interstitial impressions over the last year or so has been phenomenal. It has roughly doubled. We see more and more use of interstitial impressions on the network, driving more and more demand to all of our partners. And again, we believe that this is a great experience for users, publishers, and advertisers alike. But ultimately, we want to make sure it is as easy as possible to integrate AdMob into all of your apps so that even if you don't want to monetize from day one, you can monetize 3 months later. And this is why we're announcing a new feature, AdMob in the Android Developer Studio. So you'll be able to add AdMob as an activity in your app just by making some simple selections within Studio. You can actually define the type of ads that you want to show in your app, as you see here. And then later, once you have an AdMob account, you can drop your identification, your AdMob account ID into the Dev Studio. And when your app is published, you will show ads, and you will make money. It is really that simple. Certainly, you're going to want to do more. You're going to want to customize this. You're going to want to optimize it over time. But certainly think about taking the initial steps to integrate AdMob with all of your apps before you launch them, even if you're not thinking about monetization today. It's incredibly simple. And for the game developers in the audience, I think you know this, but as a quick reminder, we're already integrated within Unity and Cocos 2D. So that's a great way to take advantage of AdMob from a game developer perspective. To summarize, we are incredibly committed to helping all of you on Android and iOS, not just build the best apps that you can, but build businesses out of those apps in ways that are scalable, in ways that are global. By taking advantage of our tools, you're going to be able to build smart monetization opportunities, new business models that will help you differentiate and stand out from the crowd. We will provide you the tools to scale. So if you start with 100,000 users, it will work great. If you grow to 20 million or 100 million users, all of this stuff will continue to scale. And last, we're trying to make it as easy as possible. Because I've been in the online advertising space for probably the better part of the last 15 years. And this stuff is even complicated to me. You guys have to focus on what you do best, which is designing and building the very best mobile apps and mobile games out there. So we are working our butts off to make ad integration as simple and painless as possible for all of you. With that, I'd like to thank you guys so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of I/O.